If you have not traveled overseas before but one day find that you do have to make a trip abroad, one of the first things that come to mind would be, what's it like traveling at the time of a pandemic? Hi everybody, this is Andrew, and in this video I'm going to share 10 observations I made while traveling from Brunei to London and back. I would imagine that these observations would apply to much of international travels and international flights. Let's get to it. Here are my 10 points to note when traveling in a pandemic, and I begin with point number 1. Be prepared to pay for a more expensive ticket than you would under normal conditions. So in my case, my ticket cost me 70% more than the fare I paid pre-pandemic. This is understandable because airlines are struggling and would try to recover as much cost as they can. Be prepared to put in the work to meet all the requirements of the country of origin and your country of destination, as well as the requirements that the airlines need. So the requirements vary, but these typically would include a negative COVID test of your country of origin, a prepayment of a swab test in the country of your destination, and swab tests at your country of destination for your return to your original country. So all in all, I would say you need 4 swab tests at the minimum, and bookings or prepayments for that. You also need hotel bookings in case you need to quarantine in your country of destination and your country of origin when you return. You also need forms to be filled by airlines asking for your address in the country of destination so that they can contact trace. And if relevant, you may also need to put together some documents required if the country of origin requires permission for you to exit and permission for you to return. So all these are extra steps that have been put in place during the pandemic to keep everybody safe. Number 3, be prepared to deal with the possibility that you might miss your flight and the stress that may come along with that possibility. There are a couple of reasons why this might happen. Number 1, of course, is that if you test positive, the airline will not allow you on the plane, and therefore you have to reschedule your flight and all the other necessary arrangements that follow. The second is that if your tests do not come out in time, then you might have to move your trip as well, and you'll have to move everything else along with that. And the waiting period for the test results and the expectation of a negative result can rack up stress levels. I know a friend who actually missed his flight coming into Brunei from another country because his test result did not come out in time for him to make his flight. Number 4, checking in at the airline counter will take a lot longer than usual. There are no online check-ins at this time because the airline has to examine and verify your documents, COVID tests, hotel bookings at the country of destination, and other forms that you have to fill in before you check in. So be prepared to head to the airport earlier than usual. Number 5, you will have a heightened sense of your own personal safety when you travel. In particular, the proximity of the people around you, the use of your mask, where you put your hands, and awareness of your hands touching your face. If you come from a country where spread is very limited, local community spread is very limited or even zero, then this sense of heightened awareness becomes really acute. Number 6, be prepared to deal with the discomfort of wearing a mask. If you are traveling, especially on a long-haul flight, the discomfort of wearing a mask all throughout the flight, except when eating and or drinking. The airplane is a relatively safe space with its advanced HEPA filters, HEPA filters that refresh the air inside the cabin every few minutes or so. But still, it's always good practice to just keep your mask on, and that causes a certain level of discomfort. Number 7 is a good thing. It's likely that because of the fewer passengers traveling internationally these days, you may have an entire row to yourself where you can just relax and stretch and make use of the other empty seats near you or next to you at your convenience. In my case, none of the flights were above, I would say, 40%. And in each of the sectors that I flew, and I flew 5 sectors, I flew here to Singapore, Singapore to London, London to Doha, Doha to Kuala Lumpur, and Kuala Lumpur back to Brunei. In each of those flights, I had an entire row to myself, and this is something that really is a comfort, especially on a long-haul flight. Number 8 is that the amenities in the aircraft are significantly reduced. So for the short-haul flights, if you have flights maybe of 3 hours or less, what used to be called a meal in many cases will probably now be a snack. So it will be served on largely disposable food containers. Cutlery may also be in bamboo or some wooden, other perhaps even plastic, and disposed of during the flight. Number 9, you will have a shorter queuing time at immigration and customs in your destination country with fewer passengers traveling internationally. So in the case of a busy airport like London, in my case, it took me less than 30 minutes to get from the end of the line at immigration out through the door at customs. In many cases, flights arriving in the early morning would have you see a line that's long and would take an hour or close to an hour in terms of waiting, but not so in these times of COVID. Number 10. As you would expect, airports are largely empty, and the facilities at the airports are also significantly reduced, with staff temporarily furloughed or shops just closed due to lack of manpower as a result of laying offs or furlough in the months prior. So in the case of Singapore, for example, because of the fewer flights flying into Singapore, 2 terminals were closed and only 2 were being used. And within the terminal that I was, Terminal 3, not all shops were open either. It's the same for the airport in London. Leaving London, duty-free shops did not have sufficient staff, and not all shops were open too. So airports will have fewer passengers, which can be really surreal. That's it. Those were my 10 points to note when traveling during a pandemic. If you found this useful, I'd appreciate if you could smash that like button, leave a comment, and share this with your friends, family, contacts who will be traveling soon. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.